hello Coast to Coast Legal Aid. This is Jason Neufeld. Happy to be answering some questions. I'm going through a list that Addie had sent me. First question is, what made you decide to hold the Advanced Directives Clinic for seniors, which we did a month or two ago at a low-income senior facility? And the answer is because senior citizens are a chronically underserved population, and I know through my elder law practice that advanced directives and durable powers of attorney are among the most important tools I can provide someone for their future. And it's not as concerned about what happens after they pass away, but making sure that they have the highest possible quality of life while they're alive. And a lot of people don't realize that just because you're married to someone doesn't mean you can make decisions for them or apply for benefits or deal with their banking or real estate. And just because you're related to someone, married to someone, or they're your mom and your dad, doesn't mean you get to make healthcare decisions for them or access important medical records. And these are the most important things, right? Forget about the fancy trust that I do and the advanced planning that I do. If we don't have the ability to help someone who's unable to help themselves, then everything else goes by the wayside, or then you're relegated to going through a more expensive, more time-consuming guardianship process. So that's why I found it to be incredibly important, and I say thank you to all the time to Jeff, Katiana, and Sarah with the senior project at Coast to Coast Legal Aid for helping me and in coordinating this seminar for other attorneys, and then educating other attorneys on what to do, and then bringing that service to senior citizens at a low-income residential facility. So it's important because we need to help people who can't help themselves, and hope that answers the question. Thank you. Some other questions. Why is pro bono work important? I don't remember who said it, but volunteering and donating our time is the rent we pay for living on this earth, right? We're all, and especially those of us who are lawyers, we're fortunate to be in positions where we can earn a nice living, and if we have the skills and the ability to serve people who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford our services, it's incumbent upon us to either donate that time or donate money to wonderful services like Legal Aid Services of Broward County or Coast to Coast Legal Aid to empower the right people to be able to provide those services for those who are in need. The legal system is complicated. It's very difficult for people who are not lawyers to navigate that system. So to the extent that we can donate a little bit of our time or a little bit of our money to help those who wouldn't otherwise afford legal services is incredibly important. How have you seen pro bono work impact others in your community? Actually, I have a really interesting specific example where I had volunteered some years ago with, and forgive me, I don't remember if it was with Coast to Coast or Legal Aid of Broward County. It's in the same building. So it was with the landlord-tenant clinic, where essentially we were given a manual with templates and sample scripts and how to deal with common landlord-tenant issues, obviously giving advice to tenants who are dealing with slumlords or landlords who are taking advantage of their tenants. And I've done that a few times, very worthwhile cause, really a really interesting use of time. So it exposed me to an area of law that I really knew nothing about, so that is inherently interesting. But actually, a former employee of mine had reached out to me and said, I'm having a problem with my landlord, and she was describing it to me, and I was able to go into my handy-dandy legal aid landlord-tenant manual that was provided to me to keep even after volunteering my time, and I was able to flip through it and give her a letter and a script and say, here's what let me help you write a letter, and here's some things you can tell the landlord, so you at least give them the idea that you know what you're talking about and they can't do the things. And she was incredibly grateful because we were able to solve the issue, whereas without my help with the information I learned from legal aid, would not have been able to accomplish that goal for her. So that was really kind of a fun, very very practical application of the pro bono activity. Next question is, what inspires you to take on the pro bono cases you choose? In my practice, we do a lot of Medicaid planning. So what that often means is I'm working with people who have some assets who wouldn't qualify for any legal aid benefits because they do have some money, and I'm able to legally and ethically protect those assets. to get them help paying for home care or facility care. But of course, we run into people who don't have assets to begin with, and dealing with Medicaid, which it really is encompassed by multiple agencies. There's an agency that is responsible for the waitlist process, and then there's the agency that's responsible for making sure the medical evaluation gets done. There's even a third agency that's responsible for approving or denying the application, and dealing with these different agencies is not for the faint of heart, and people can do it without the help of a lawyer, but there are some people who really just don't have the wherewithal. So what we'll periodically do is help some folks out who in our practice, because we have the correct experts on staff between myself and my team to be able to help those people efficiently navigate that process. So we can't take on a ton of pro bono cases because it's just kind of the nature of the business, but we do periodically take on pro bono cases, probably about 3 or 4 a year, because we feel it's our obligation to do so, and I wish I could do more, and as we grow the firm, I do endeavor to do that. And I think that's it. I'm Jason Neufeld with Elder Needs Law, and it's been my pleasure creating this video. If you need anything else, thank you very much. And again, thank you to Coast to Coast Legal Aid for partnering with me on different pro bono initiatives. And we have, I think, some other projects in the work, and I'll continue to work with Coast to Coast as long as they'll have me. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.